Hi, this is Jack Stanley. I'm here at Mount Pleasant Cemetery in Newark, New Jersey. And Mount Pleasant Cemetery opened in 1844. It is a cemetery filled with Victorian markers, and the Victorians certainly knew how to honor the dead, and they certainly had fantastic monuments. And an interesting individual is buried here in Mount Pleasant. I want to take you over here. It's a very interesting grave. If you look carefully, you will see it is the grave of Mary Stilwell, wife of Thomas Alva Edison, who died on August the 9th, 1884. She's the first wife of Thomas Edison. We don't really hear about her very often. The reason being is, of course, that his second wife, Mina, certainly took the lion's share of the publicity. And of course, you got to remember that Edison received a lot more publicity as he grew older. But Mary died at the height of what was Edison's busy period of life. When he was in Menlo Park, New Jersey. She died at the age of 28. It says 29 here. She was almost 29, but she was 28. Another thing is that she's buried here with two of her children. The first is Thomas Edison Jr. and his wife Beatrice. And it's marked here. In fact, Thomas Edison Jr. is buried right over here. You'll see the ivy over here that covers the grave. That is where Thomas Jr. and Beatrice are buried. Of course, right behind the monument is a bush, and that is where Mary Stilwell is buried. But there's one other person buried here that it does not talk about, and that is Marion. You see, that was the first child born to Thomas and Mary Stilwell, Marion. In fact, the first two children were Marion and Thomas Jr. Edison used to call them Dot and Dash. And so Mrs. Edison is here with Dot and Dash. Now, the thing about Marion is that the grave is not marked. You'll also notice that there's nothing here to tell you that Marion is here. But after doing a lot of research, I found that Marion was buried here in the 1960s, but there was never any markers saying so. So just to answer a question and a statement about this remarkable tomb is that Mrs. Edison's here. Thomas Edison would have been here if he did not remarry. Thomas Edison Jr. is here, who died under mysterious circumstances. Many people think it was suicide. And Marion is buried here in an unmarked grave. Kind of interesting. But I must tell you that Mary is here, and she's been here for many, many years. But Thomas, of course, is buried in West Orange, New Jersey. In fact, he's buried behind the home in which they lived, Mina and Thomas, and that's called Glenmont. They weren't always there. They were actually buried in West Orange and moved in the early 1960s in a project called Operation X, in which the bodies were exhumed at night and rolled on logs to get them where they had to go, because they were very heavy, and buried behind the home. That's where Thomas is today. Thomas might have been here, but of course, all we have on this marker is the empty space in which Thomas might have been. But now, of course, all you see is Mary Stilwell. This is one of the more forgotten graves in the history of the Edison story, and I think it's a good one to point out.